Hey folks, how's it going? Just checking in here, going to provide you with a pretty short video with my sort of reflections on reading your technical reviews, what I think you can begin to focus on a bit more as you're revising them for the final draft, and just sort of my impressions on how well you've been able to handle the personal peer feedback for each of your colleagues. So I'll just jump right into it here. I've been pretty impressed with what I'm seeing in your technical reviews. I think that in large part you have all gotten the sense of what this assignment is supposed to be about. A critical evaluation that presents a relatively objective, though evidence-based take on a object or experience. I think all of you chose an object, which is totally fine. I think that is a perfectly legitimate and reasonable way to go about this assignment. And I was impressed with the range of topics and objects you decided to cover, anything between snowmobiles, basketballs, dollies for working in the garage. And so it was great for me, frankly, to see all of the variety of possible interesting topics that you're writing about. So kudos there. I want to talk just about a few aspects that I did notice as I was commenting on them. So I'll just begin right away with saying that you really want to take care thinking about the way that you're presenting information. And by that I mean the actual form or presentation of your review. And so when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about the different ways you can manage the aspects or characteristics that you want to cover. So, for example, many of you are thinking about durability, versatility of an object or a product, how it looks, eye appeal, thinking about the cost-benefit analysis, the price point for this object. And so I think a good way to manage that is to really break your technical review down into sections, right? And those sections are represented by different paragraphs. Many of you, all of you really have already done that. So my encouragement to you will be for your final version to go back and really think about how you're presenting the information, because I think so much of the review of this assignment, the technical review assignment, is relying on your ability to organize information in a readable, accessible way. And so I'm very careful to think about the kinds of presentations of material and information that you're providing for us here. So that's one thing I was thinking about. The other was this matter of being objective. So it's a challenge, I think, to be an objective observer, particularly when you're considering an object or experience based on your own personal experience, certainly. But that doesn't mean you can't be an objective sort of critic of this object. And by that I mean you're working hard to balance the pros and cons, the negatives versus the positives, the blue versus the red, and figuring out how to create a manageable balance that will let your reader know that you're not just biased in a certain direction for your product. I didn't necessarily get that sense from any of yours, though I will be thinking more carefully about that as I comment on them and send them back to you for the final draft. But it's something to be aware of, that a technical review is the creation of an argument, and certainly is an argument, but that asks you to be an objective sort of presenter of information, to think about all the facts and details and specs for your object in order to present and make a case for its use value. Its price to durability ratio, its versatility, right? Its ability to sort of function under a variety of experiences and processes. And so I'm definitely thinking about that, how you're able to take advantage of your perspective and present your information in a way that is ultimately objective, but is balanced by some subjective or personal opinions and ideas. And that is what this review asks you to do, is create that balance. So do be cognizant of that as you're drafting these final versions. You will also have to sort of deal with, and you are doing this in large part, the descriptive language that requires you to describe the technical aspects or details of your object. Now, I've had you do this jargon 5 definition exercise because I want you to be able to take a technical definition or a technical term and define it for an audience that may not be readily aware of what that means, right? So I enjoyed reading your different definitions and thought many of them were very well done, and got a good chuckle out of most of them, frankly, because it was just great to see you thinking about the kinds of language that you're using every day, hopefully, right? So be thinking about that as you're working on these final versions of your technical review. As how are you managing the technical definitions, the jargon that comes along with the different kinds of products that you're talking about here? And I will myself be cognizant of that as I'm reading them, right, or as I have been reading them. So yes, so those are sort of the main topics I'm thinking about here. The organization, the way it looks, their technical reviews. So I'm thinking, you have to have headers. You have to have bold, underlined headers that really tell me what you're going to be talking about, whether that's durability, versatility, price point, whatever it may be, right? Usability, right? So be using those. Take advantage of that opportunity to create that organized structure. And I'm thinking about organization in general, right? How are you framing this review in a way that's readable to someone who is interested in learning more about it, frankly. I'm thinking about objectivity, your ability to balance and manage your own ideas, your own evidence, personal experience with a more subtle approach to explaining these processes and how they may or may not be beneficial for certain kinds of people, right? And then I'm thinking about your ability to describe, right? You're taking this page, page and a half, sometimes 2 pages, and really describing your experience with this object and product in a pretty technical way. And so I'm interested to see how you handle um, that aspect of this, right? And so do lean on your experience, the brief experience as it may be, of the jargon exercise where you're thinking about, okay, I am using this language, but not everybody knows exactly what I'm talking about. Make sure that in your review you are providing some definitions, brief as they may be, or they only need to be very brief, that will allow your reader to sort of pick up on what you're getting at there. And then finally, I didn't mention this earlier, but I'm thinking about your evidence, right? So I'm thinking about how you are presenting and making a case for this object. So when you have a header, for example, that may be the durability of a certain product, right? I'm thinking about our example here of the tent, right? The LLB Dome tent, and how that student is thinking about its durability and their experience with the tent guides that discussion of how durable it is or may be, right? And so as you are thinking about your headers and how to organize this review, you must also be thinking about how to make a case through your evidence, whether, like we said, that's personal evidence or technical evidence, whatever that may be that you think makes the greatest point. So yes, keep up what you are working with here, and continue to comment on your peers' reviews. I think peers' technical reviews, and I think that is a good way to continue this conversation to make sure that it doesn't just get bogged down into me providing comments for you, and that being a sole purpose and sole sort of reason for your editing and returning to these technical reviews for the final draft. I do want you to be engaging with each other, and for the most part, I'm seeing that you are each sort of taking your time with your peers' technical reviews and sort of elaborating on the effect of it. And coming to a kind of conclusion. So keep that up. Great work. I look forward to reading the final drafts, and I'll see you all soon. Okay, bye.